everyone, and welcome back to the channel after a goddamn year. So today, me and Papa Little2bug are going to be ranking the Warframes. Let's get into it. Before we start, just going to explain how our tiers work. So, F tier, that tier belongs solely for bad Warframes, Ureli and Anaros, Warframes that have almost no use in
Yeah,
this game and
there's
should
no
not
use to
exist.
them, and then they just. I'd rather not see them on the team than actually have them on the team.
And
Like, they're
then
just negatives.
yep, D tier, very below average Warframes. Usually don't have a.
They're the ones who desperately need a rework because they've probably fallen out of touch with the. Or not out of touch, they've fallen out of relevance, so.
Alright, C tier, it's
They're
around
just
the average.
average frame. They're average, but a lot of them
Need
don't.
work.
They need work, and all of them need work to be better. But you can use them, and you'll be fine. And it's like, okay, there's a use for this, but you're gonna have to work around some of the drawbacks a little bit.
Alright, and B tier, this is above average. These Warframes are generally holding a pretty good spot for themselves. Don't really need much work done on them. They're pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of them just need a little bit of balancing on some of their weaker abilities to make them synergize a lot more with the other ones. But they're still useful, or they have their aspect in the game that makes them useful.
A tier Warframes are very good Warframes, usually not needing work at all. They're perfect where they are. They are some of the best Warframes of the game.
Yeah.
Then S tier, that tier is reserved almost entirely for 3 Warframes alone because of how good they are and how
Yeah,
broken they are.
they are set up. They are the well above the standard frames. They're like really good.
And without that out of the way, let's get into it. First is the sneaky boy Ash.
I love Ash, man.
Ash, while yet he's less useful than he was, but he's still great. So he has Shuriken, which can be used with Seeking Shuriken to strip armor. He has Smokescreen, which is good invisibility for Steel Path. Teleport, fucking useless. Um, Blade Storm.
Blade Storm's the biggest downgrade from when it used to be. It's a bigger downgrade than when they made Velma black. That ability actually used to make Ash 10 times better than he was. He used to be able to one-shot level 1,000 enemies with that. I remember that back in the day. And what does Blade Storm do now? Literally nothing, because you have to hover over your enemies before you hit them. You might as well just shoot them with a regular gun at that point, if you have to actually aim at them. That ability is completely obsolete now. Like, why is that even in the game? Just do anything. Same thing with Switch Teleport. Like, who's using that?
However, his passive is a great passive. Just makes bleed even better.
Yeah, he's a great frame if you're a shitty player trying to use melee and steel path and not very good, like I mentioned. Also, you can have the augment for the shadow where you can do a lot more crit chance, a lot more damage. So Ash is good, just not the greatest. I'd say B tier.
Yeah, we'll give Ash a B. Is the tanky boy Atlas. Well, he's not really tanky, is he? But the only Warframe to have Prime sure-footed without expending a mod slot.
Yay.
Yay. Alright, first ability, he has Landslide, you punch a fucker.
Only goes up to
Tectonics,
4 times multiplier, so I mean, what? It's a downgraded Korra with less range.
yep. Tectonics, you send a ball at enemies, or you just put up a wall that can easily be shot through. Petrify, Atlas's only good ability. Uh,
Works well with
Enemy,
the first ability too, though.
yeah, any enemy petrified can be insta killed with the first ability, and then, oh, everyone's favorite, the Rumblers. This is
I'm not joking. One of them literally did self-damage to me, and I got dead.
yes. So this is why we don't like Atlas.
D tier.
D tier Warframe.
I mean, there's nothing his one good thing he can do is punch, and I mean, Korra does it better, higher multiplier. What exactly does Atlas do? More health? Well, guess what? At the levels you're actually going to be using that playstyle at, enemies are going to one-shot you anyway.
Yeah, dumb AI
What you
won't
going to do?
save
Run
you.
up to a freaking nullifier and start punching it? No. Fire Xmas will shred you if it hits you with it doesn't kill fast enough. You have to get right up in front of them. Same thing in the future with Excalibur. It's not efficient. Petrify, it's just might as well hit them with a corrosive proc if you want to lower their HP, like, or armor scale or whatever it actually does, but not useful.
Yep. D tier Warframe. All it has is dumb AI and a very cheesy mechanic. Everyone's favorite frail but glass cannon girl, Banshee. She is one of the best Warframes to get insane amounts of damage in this game. However, that comes with the price of her being absolutely unable to survive in higher level content. So she has Sonic Boom, which with the augment granted is very, very good. You can armor strip acolytes and any enemy you want armor stripped.
With that said, everything armor strips in this game now, so.
This is true, but you can use. My point still stands. Sonar. This is what you get. This is what makes Banshee so goddamn good. You cast Sonar and you hit enemies in their weak spots, you will get insane amounts of damage multipliers. Silence. This ability, it's kind of hit or miss. So it'll definitely
Honestly,
help.
works better in other frames.
Yeah, it helps de-aggro some enemies, but only for a little bit. And then Soundquake. Don't use this ability. It does nothing.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of that one. Tag it with something else that can do more damage or anything else.
Overall, Banshee is a great Warframe, but she suffers from being unable to survive, and like even on
Along
level
with having
100.
two pretty useless abilities, so.
Yeah,
I mean, literally the Sonic Boom ability or whatever it's called, you can use his Nyx's, I believe, per second,
it goes.
and you only need 135% power strength, if I remember correctly, where and you don't really want to build for that, so. I mean, if you really wanted to armor strip that much, there's better abilities, so. But with her, too, I'm reluctantly giving her an A.
Yeah, I would definitely say Banshee is definitely an A tier. Just don't use her in Steel Path. If you can,
Well, you can use her in Steel Path, you just want to use her with a team.
yeah, use her with the team. You can't survive on your own with Banshee. She is the definition of a glass cannon, but she is but her sonar is enough to get her as to be an A tier Warframe. Monk Baruch. So this man is one of, if not the best melee Warframe in the game, second only to maybe Varuna. So what what you have? First ability, Elude. Don't use this. It's only it's only really its only use is to not get shot and when you're not attacking, but you kind of need
A
to
little
attack.
counterproductive.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive. So replace this with like Nourish or Pull or something. Lull. This is a great ability. It puts abilities. It puts abilities. Puts enemies to sleep, and will fill up your. If you put a lot of enemies to sleep, this ability will fill up your strength meter a lot. Desolate Hands. This is actually an amazing ability. It disarms enemies and gives you insane amounts of damage reduction.
You can use your desolate hands and his fourth to fist people.
And then Serene Storm, you can once you have enough. You should only use this ability when your restraint is pretty much gone because you need enough time to build up combo, and you need to hit enemies like actually not with the waves, but this is an insane melee. This is like the best exalted weapon in the game. And if you use this right, you will be slaughtering enemies in Steel Path for hours upon hours. And this is
Yeah, the damage doesn't fall off either. It doesn't fall off for
no.
a long time.
Baruch consistently hits red crits for the entire game with Serene Storm. So if you want to be a melee player, use this man. Uh, I will say he's definitely an A-tier Warframe.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Right, the arguably one of the most forgettable Warframes.
F tier. What is a Caliban? I don't remember. He armor strips in the most inefficient way possible. F tier. Doesn't do anything.
Let's at
I
least
don't know
go.
what. I don't even know what a Caliban is, bro. It needs a complete rework. What does he do?
Let's at least go over his abilities. So,
Useless, 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 inefficient. There.
Razor Geyer, what the hell is this? You're spinning around. You spin me right round. Um, Sentient Wrath, what the hell does this do?
We don't remember. Like in Summer, this production quality will go even worse.
uh, this is a pure damaging ability, pretty much. And at the levels you're doing content, pure damage is not enough.
I'm just saying, the level you'd get Caliban at, why would you even... What would this frame do?
Not much.
I don't even remember how you get Caliban. I think this was a free frame at one point.
I, th- I, d- yeah, I don't even remember how you get
We put
Caliban.
0 effort into Caliban's take. This is just a useless frame.
Lethal Progeny, you get a sentient, but remarkably weaker than any
Bad
sentient
AI.
enemy that you've ever
It's
faced, and
dumber than Atlas's AI.
has terrible AI. And then you have the most inefficient way of armor stripping because you have to aim.
Yeah.
Why the
And
hell?
also, again, it has to focus the beam too, so it's like, why not just do what you do with Ash or Nyx or even Banshee? Click a button.
Yeah, easily
No.
F tier Warframe.
Focus the
Don't
thing.
don't use this guy. I don't even know why I still own mine, but
I was gonna look at him before I played this, and I remembered I gave him to the helmet, so.
oh, what a fall from grace, Dragon Boy Chroma. Arguably has the most useless passive of any fucking Warframe. You got a fucking additional bullet jump. Actually, yeah, you got an additional bullet jump and a regular jump. What the hell? This used to be the Warframe for knocking out high level content or killing grand bosses. And now, basically, the only thing he's good for is farming credits. So,
Profit Taker and the Exploiter Orb, that's it.
yep, actually,
All he
not
does.
even not even Exploiter Orb. It's basically just Profit Taker. You take this guy to double your credit reward. That's pretty much it.
I'm gonna say, since he does have a use in the game, he gets D-tiered.
But yeah, Spectral Scream, you're standing there breathing on an
Useless.
enemy that does nothing. Uh, Elemental
Damage,
Ward.
armor, credit boost, that's it.
Yeah, Ward gives you very negligible, uh, very negligible bonuses on your weapons. Vex Armor gives you very negligible damage resistance. And Effigy, this is what you use to get double credits. It does nothing else. It literally a useless ability.
Genuinely, what does it do? What does it actually do? What's its, other than doubling credits, what does the ability actually do?
Uh, strengthens nearby allies and engulfs enemies in elemental attacks. It really does nothing.
That could mean anything.
It's basically his effigy just sits there and attacks enemies, dealing like 2 damage. This is the only good reason to use Chroma is credit farming.
Yeah, I'll give it a D, but it's like just for that one reason alone. Other than that, I don't ever see a reason using him.
This guy has had a very sad fall from grace. He used to be one of
If
the
they allowed him to do self-damage to himself, it'd be a lot better.
D tier. Uh,
I like this frame, low-key.
yeah, she's honestly better than I was expecting her to be too. Just one word of
The farm
advice:
is horrible.
don't
Though.
fucking
Never
farm
do it.
her. Buy her, please,
They
for the
talk
love
so
of
much shit
God.
about Korra not being farmable. This this frame is not farmable though. You cannot actually farm this frame. It's so bad. You have to play that mirror defense. That's even what it's called for hours. Like I couldn't do it. I'm not strong enough of a man for that.
Let's take a look at her kit. Her passive gives allies 5 health regeneration per second. That's kind of negligible, but if you pick up health orbs, you can increase that regeneration, so it gets slightly better. So fractured blast, um, you slash and stagger enemies. The crystal blast, it does bleed damage. So, and this is your way of getting health and energy orbs, I think. Preserving Shell, this is your damage reduction ability. Guards herself and nearby allies with a shell, and the more you kill shit with it, the better your damage reduction gets. Prismatic Gem. Deploy a gem that shoots prismatic beams. Um, this one is probably her. I don't know how to feel about this ability. It doesn't.
She's one of those frames you really got to use all of her abilities together. They don't work. Like she's just one of those frames where you gotta. She has a pretty good kit for what she does, but like it's her abilities aren't great alone, but she's insane at applying status procs to different enemies.
Yeah, that's
So
what
many
her
different.
prismatic gem does. It gives everyone on the team insane stamina, uh, status, chance, and status duration.
Yeah.
And then her crystallize summons crystal fractals and seeks enemies, and then they're paralyzed, and you hit the girls to deal critical damage, which you don't have to aim at them. You can just fucking melee, and it'll do that crit damage. So I would say Citrine, I think, is a B tier Warframe.
Yeah, that's where I'm putting her.
She's definitely good, but you have to use her in a very specific way to make her work.
Yeah, she's one of those frames where you just got to like use all of her abilities together, but at least she does something, and I'll pick up on another frame later that some people might disagree with me on the placement of. But yeah, I like how all her abilities work together, but there are just better options than her. I really like her, but she kind of does the same thing the Cedo does. Let's just be honest here.
Yeah, B
But
tier.
I really do like this frame though. Like I don't want to say I don't. A lot of health, damage, buffs. She's really good. You're just not going to see her a lot. Same with some other frames you'll see just because there's better options.
Option Warframe Goth. So she garnered a lot of attention when she first came out, but she's not getting so much anymore. I feel like she's still a really good Warframe, though. So she has an okay passive, 35% chance that energy and health will be 300% more effective when you pick up. So that could work well with Equilibrium. So her first ability is basically a better Ureli uh, 1. So
I've
those.
been saying this though. The day I started playing, and my friends would be like, "What would be a cool Warframe ability?" This is the ability I came up with like 5 years ago. So I'm happy to finally see it in game, but it kind of
Sites
sucks.
will actually actively seek out enemies, unlike Urelis, and do viral damage with status effects. She is apart from Saren, she is the viral Warframe.
Yeah.
And then Doom, you condemn nearby enemies, and a portion of the damage Dagoth deals is revisited upon them by your one, and they all suffer viral damage as well. Grave Spirit, you supercharge your weapons with extra crit damage, insane ability. And then Rakali's Cavalry, this is her DPS This is her DPS ability. Uh, you just summon a horde of Kaiths, and they do insane viral damage on everything they charge at. This ability is very good, but however, you need to, you don't need to aim nearly as much as you do like with a gun, but you need to aim still. So that kind of takes away the effectiveness. This ability is still very good, but you have to aim with it. So overall, I think Dagoth could fit into B tier.
Yeah, I want to say he'd be A tier, but at the same time, I just think you gotta realize B tier's above average. A tier's really good. I again just don't see Dagoth being a frame. I'm like, I need to take this into my regular missions. This is like a niche frame, and I would love to use him in close quarters because I really cannot. With his 4, you cannot use it throughout big tile sets and open tile sets. You really need this for closed halls. So it'd be A tier in like Kuvival where you're in that tight area, but in a lot of other places it's not as effective when the enemies just step out of the way. I still really like Dugoth, but
Yes.
again, it just A tier frames are the ones you're actually going to be seeking out to use in your day-to-day missions. B tiers, it's good for your niche, but not everything. So that's why I'm going with B tier on this. But in some cases, A tier would be the correct placement.
Overall, Warframe you should definitely try out though. B tier. Hey, this guy is from what I from the moment he came out, he had Warframe pretty much up in arms. He was and probably still is one of the best DPS Warframes in the game. So I have not extensively used him yet, but
Alright, I can go over them then if you want me
yeah,
to.
this would be easier if you
So,
explained.
Dante's a great frame. I like him. Let me grab him so I can actually look at what his abilities are.
He can
So
fill up your
first,
codex for you.
yep. So his first ability, I don't know what it is. It's trash. So you want to read that because I don't have his
Uh,
first ability.
you open his Exalted Tome and unleash a Tale of Woe upon his enemies. So it's basically pure damage ability. It
Well,
does.
I watched a video and apparently it sucked, so I have Roar there instead. So what his second ability does is it will give you some overshield or overguard, I should say, and it'll does it give some debuffs. I had to actually
It
look at what it says, but
gives allies
it gives you
overguard and
overguard
increases health.
and radius and health. Yeah, so this is really effective. Then the second ability, or the third ability, I should say, will do some slash procs, and it hits a pretty good radius.
Alright, and
And then
then final
depending on
verse
how you combine the attacks, it'll give you some different effects. So if you do the slash twice, it'll I'm trying to actually use this as I talk. It'll give you a big high DPS ability. So if you do 2 slashes in a row, it'll give you that. So if you use the 3 and then you use the 2 and then use the last one, it'll give you some like drones that hover around and like torment the enemies a bit and probably do debuffs. Yeah, I haven't. Trust me, it's better than I'm making this out to
yeah,
be.
Dante is most usually used with his page flight verse with the
Yeah, you always want that on, and then if you use the 2, then the 3, it'll give you a lot of good like health benefits. And so you got to basically be constantly using your abilities, but and then you use your 4 to like supercharge. It's like a supercharge thing, you know. You got to like use your first like 2 and 3s and then it'll deal a lot more damage, or it'll do a lot more of the effect you wanted in the first place. So you technically have like four last abilities. So this is a really versatile frame. I'm not describing it the best because this is definitely not scripted in the slightest.
This is a very new Warframe still, so
I haven't played around with him much. I do enjoy using him. I'm going to give him an A tier just because there's no squad he doesn't fit well on. And he does a lot of damage. He can do a lot of slash procs. He can give you a lot of overguard, so you probably won't die with him.
A
And with the
tier.
newer frames, we haven't played as much of them, so it's going to be some less optimal responses. But the ranking will probably be correct. I can't explain the abilities to the best of my ability, or to okay, just something stupid. But I can't explain them as well. But the rankings are correct. Trust me. But yeah,
Yeah.
A tier for sure.
A tier. Peace, World on Fire, Ember, basically the low-level Saren. So her first ability, very outdated. Don't use it. Immolation, uh, good for damage reduction. However, you don't want this ability to be cast for very long, which is its main downside. You have to keep casting and recasting it, deactivating it, because it will drain your energy. Like, this is one of the heaviest energy drains in the game, as far as I am concerned. And then Fire Blast, this can be counter to your immolation, but it's mainly used for armor stripping on
Yet
other.
again, another inefficient armor strip.
Another inefficient armor strip, yep. Because you need to build a shit ton of power strength for this to even work. And frankly, it works better on other warframes. But the whole reason anyone uses Ember is for her 4, because it nukes shit. Not anywhere
Unless it's
near
above
what.
level 20.
Yeah, unless it's above level 20, yep. Because Ember instantly uh, loses her. What's the word I'm looking for?
She's useless above level 20 because her abilities are designed for a game that came out 10 years ago and have not been updated for the current game. Ember
Yeah.
used to be really good, but World on Fire was too powerful, and it worked off an armor drain. Emulation was something completely different. And she basically was able to nuke entire maps. They didn't like that because it was too easy. You can click a button, everything's dead. So they changed her fourth ability just to rain fire down from the sky. So on top of immolation, draining your energy, you got all this high energy use for fourth. So it basically kills a bunch of low-level enemies, but you got to keep all your other stats up to maintain immolation at a certain point, so it doesn't completely become obsolete with buffs. But at the same time, you can't keep enough power strength on the fourth to actually make it deal high damage to high-level enemies. So the ability's freaking useless, and the frame sucks now. Thanks, DE.
Uh,
C tier.
C tier. Yeah, she's insane for nuking low level missions. So like,
Yeah, once you get past like round 5 of Hydron, it's useless though. Like, then you
yeah,
got to go on some weird ass steel path builds if you want to make it useful, and I don't
she would
want to.
definitely be D tier if she could not nuke.
And I don't even want to hear the steel path. You can use emulate. I don't want to use some weird ass build that I can just use a Saren for instead. We'll get to Saren.
All right, C tier. Night Equinox. So she is. She's been slowly declining in usage over the years. So she has a night and day form, but do not use her night form unless you're like farming Kavat genetic codes, because you don't need her night form for anything else. So Rest and Rage, day form. I'm gonna be only going over the day form for this actually. Targets become more vulnerable to damage. I mean, sure. Pacify and Provoke. Day form, increase ability strength of all nearby allies. That's good, but it's only like around a 20% uh, increase. So it's not a bad ability, but it could do better. And then this is what everyone uses her for. She can nuke with maim. Because she does insane slash damage to anything around. And enemies will just bleed to death. So, definitely a good nuke frame, however, she's been slowly becoming less relevant as the game ages. So I would say she's a B tier Warframe solely because she can nuke.
I'm gonna say this: if they just made her more optimal for this day and age, where you could switch between night form and day form easier, you could use both forms. It'd be a lot better and like simultaneously use them. She could be an A tier frame with that, but I'm honestly gonna say she's a C tier frame because you can't. She's just not optimal anymore. You could make an argument for B tier, which I'd be fine with, but it's just I never have a need to use her again. Her nuke isn't anything that great. It is probably one of the better nukes for high levels, but then again, you're doing so much damage with your regular guns at that point. You should just do the damage with your regular guns. Try to work with that. Use a better frame for maximizing the damage of those guns, not just using that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I can see your point. I think yeah, she could. She's definitely more of a C tier Warframe actually. Like B
I'd
tier.
give her a C plus, B minus, but I mean she's gonna
Yeah.
fall, and by the time the next updates come around, she's not targeted to be reworked, so it's gonna be a C tier. Those
Yeah,
other frames get
if she's
buffed,
not gonna
so
get anything and she's gonna stay the same and not be relevant, then yeah, she's a C tier Warframe. Boy, Excalibur. Oh my
everyone's favorite
god.
frame that sucks ass.
Okay. So, regular Excalibur, his passive, you do better damage and attack speed with swords. But, dear God, what the hell were you thinking, DE, by giving Excalibur Umbra his own shitty AI?
I
Because
have war flashbacks.
no one asked for this. No one asked for the fucking Umbra to walk around on his own and do absolutely fucking nothing.
He
And
got
get
hit
him.
by a radiation proc and killed my fucking operator.
Alright, Slash Dash. This ability is bad. It's not even good for traversal. Why would you use it?
You can do the same thing with Atlas's fucking one, but it doesn't actually improve anything.
Alright, Radial Howl pretty much is, or Radial Blind, however you look at it.
The Vacor Sidon does the same thing as that ability. And the annoying thing with that ability is it'll start casting every time you try to do a slide attack.
Alright, his very useless ability, apart from Slash Dash, Radial Javelin, you just get a chance to impale enemies on the wall, which almost never happens. And then the trademark Exalted Blade. So, this is a very good Exalted until you reach around like level 20, and then it just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I'd say after level 120 or one, once you get to Steel Path, it's really
If you
useless.
want it to do anything, you use Chromatic Blade, and even then, it will not
Yeah, it doesn't.
do anything at higher levels. So, Scal, I'm sorry, but
C tier.
C tier,
Dare I say D tier?
you're just not good, buddy.
He's literally became the worst starter frame in the entire game. He does nothing in end game that's useful. Early game, I will say, and that's why I'm giving him a C tier. Is early game he is the most easy to use frame, and he's not difficult to understand at all. He's just pretty solid frame early on, and he's the easiest frame to get the hang of. I'll say that, but that's what he's made for. He's not made for high level content. But I will never say buff him, and I'm fine with him being at C tier forever. Just remember, do not get mad at it for being C tier. That's the way he was designed.
C tier. DE, please God, rework. Frost. Oh my
Yeah,
god,
upgrades can't save
this
him.
fucking Warframe is the most outdated piece of shit in this entire game. And let me tell you why. You have to. He can be good but you have to do some very specific shit with him to make him work. So, arguably, the worst passive in the entire game, apart from Chroma, cold status effects have their duration increased by 100%. Who the hell uses cold status? Um, Frost gains 50 armor per enemy inflicted with cold status within 15 meters. What the fuck?
Armor's useless above level 200, so...
Okay, let's look at his abilities. Freeze. Why the hell would you use this? You have to aim with it. It freezes a single enemy, and you're dealing with hordes of enemies. Ice Wave. Again, what is this supposed to do? Like, it's a pure damage ability that
Outdated
freezes.
ability, whatever. It's an outdated ability that was created in a different time.
Snow Globe, arguably one of the worst defense abilities ever. It
Stop using it in Hydron.
It interrupts allies' gunshots and attacks. It's just there to be a nuisance, pretty much. And then Avalanche. This is how you armor strip with him, but it's like very.
It does some decent damage, but like you can use it with augments. Here's the thing with Frost is the augments do make him pretty strong, I will say. But the thing is, I don't want to rid a Warframe based off on their augments. Because I'll just be adding a fix that doesn't actually fix the frame. Like, no new player is going to pick up Frost. I know so many people these days who are like, I want Frost so much. They pick the frame up, and it's like, what's this? I was promised 10 years ago this frame was good. And even though it's a favorite of my boy T-Cop, I gotta say, Frost is a very C-tier frame.
I would honestly argue D tier.
What's the augments? He's good.
Yeah, but that's very niche.
Well, they added new augments to the game. You can use him at higher levels now. You can use him in new ways. I'm not gonna say he's completely garbage.
Alright, C
But
tier.
he has to be used as an offensive frame and not a defensive frame like people would think. Which is weird because just the way you have to play him now is just weird. I don't know. That's why I'm putting him at C tiers because nobody's trying to play like that.
Well, introducing Frost, but better. Gara. Her playstyle can be very boring, but you can do millions of damage if you are attentive enough. So, Shattered Lash, don't use this ability regularly. I will explain why. Splinter Storm, this is how you do millions of damage. I will explain how you do this. Spectrage, this is her helmet ability. It's still useful on her though. It gives you energy. So if you use her augment, Spectre Siphon, which is pretty much a given if you're going to use Spectrage, then you use the augment. If you kill enemies inside the circle, which you almost will with Splinter Storm, then you'll get a ton of energy given you. And then Mass Vitrify. So you use this ability, you cast it, and then you throw your Shattered Lash at it to shatter it. And if you have Splinter Storm active, it will increase the damage of your Splinter Storm. So you use these three abilities in synergy to give Gara millions upon millions of damage, making her one of the best DPS frames if you are attentive enough to get her damage up there and keep it up there. And it also does a way better job of defending objectives than Frost's Snow Globe because you can actually shoot through this. So I'd argue A tier.
Yeah, I'd say her kit as a whole is A tier. I'm gonna say this though, her kit A tier. Her playstyle is C tier. Well, her playstyle is F tier. I will say that. I do not like playing Gara. I will refrain from playing Gara because how boring she is to use in high level content. But I've gotta go objectively and say A tier.
Garuda. So she used to be very, very mid, but as of recent, She's one of the best damage dealing warframes in the game. She is slash maniac. So Dread Mirror, this gives you invulnerability from the front, so not not the best um, invulnerability ability, but hey, what can you do? So this is basically you charge up uh, a pulsating orb of blood over you. The more you use Dread Mirror, and then you can launch it at like a particular strong enemy, and you can kill it in one shot if you charge up the orb of blood enough. Blood Altar. This is usually the ability you subsume off of her. You do not want this ability very much because you have other ways to siphon health other than this ability. So you usually use Gloom here. Bloodletting. You. While this may sound like a bad ability, this is her. This is this is her arcane energize, and if you know how to play her, you won't die, even while having 2 health, because you'll just get that health right back most of the time. But you sacrifice your health to get a bunch of energy and cleanse yourself of status. And then Seeking Talons, you are going to do a bunch of slash damage to anything caught in the circle. So, yeah. I would argue B tier.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B tier. She's a solid frame. But again, falls into the category of, am I really gonna pick this frame up all the time? Probably not, but I do see the advantages with her, and she does have some really good assets. So.
And also worth mentioning her passive.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably the best passive in the game,
Yeah,
or up there
you
at least.
do insane damage the more enemies you kill. So
Yeah, so it's
solid B tier
like what,
Warframe.
double damage or something. It's
Yeah,
insane.
100% damage.
Yeah, so I'll say B tier frame, but I mean if she's just more viable in more game modes, I'd say A tier.
The speed Gauss. So this man is quite possibly the best Warframe in the game. So his passive, Gauss is all about movement. You never stop moving if you're using this guy. Uh, you fill up his battery, which is his main way to use his abilities synergetically. His first ability, Mach Rush, you basically use this to fill up your battery. This ability doesn't really do much to enemies or anything else. You just use this to fill your battery. Kinetic plating, one of the best damage reduction abilities in the game. Gives you complete status immunity. Thermal Sunder. This is a very, very popular nuking ability that is subsumed onto other frames and is also very good for Gauss because it charges your battery or uses your battery's power to damage enemies. But alternatively, you want to charge your battery, so you can use Red Line and overcharge your battery so you can be faster, have your weapons shoot faster, and overall be an unkillable speed machine that shoots his gun so fast the enemies die before you can even register it. So I would say A tier frame, possibly S
Yeah, A
tier.
tier. A tier going on S tier, but with I don't like the idea of putting stuff in S tier, so I'm gonna say an A plus frame, probably top 5, arguably top 3, but
Yeah,
I still have 3 frames above Gauss in my opinion.
the Devourer of Worlds, Grendel. This man used to be terrible. He used to be one of the worst Warframes in the game. So, his passive, consume enemies, get 250 bonus armor. That's not terrible, but not a great passive either. So, his kit revolves around his first ability, you eat enemies. So, that gives you armor, and What else does it do? Well, it synergizes with the rest of his kit, which is what I'm getting to. Nourish, you. This is insane on other Warframes, not so good on Grendel because you have to have enemies in your gut to make this work, but it is very good for energy regeneration, and it does viral damage to surrounding enemies. Pulverize. Um, you become a big meatball, haha, but it's not really that good. And then regurgitate. This is basically sacrificing all the enemies you have eaten to deal a huge amount of damage to like a group of enemies. So overall, um,
He's one of those frames that he is good, but I mean, he's better on other frames. His Nourish is better on so many other frames than it is with him. His playstyle isn't exactly good. I'm gonna give him a C tier. He's not a terrible frame. I don't want to sound like C tier is terrible because people like to overrate stuff and put trash in C tier. That's not how this list is working. C tier is average, but I just can't put him higher.
yeah,
When
I've
am I
never
gonna
liked
use
the
this outside of
idea
social
of
media?
Grendel, and I don't honestly care for him that much. C tier Warframe. Queen of Electricity, Geyer. So she's basically the Nikola Tesla of Warframe. Her passive, she is a crit monster if you use her right. Um, Arc Sphere, this is the ability you get rid of. Not gonna go any deeper than that. Coil Horizon, you throw forward a sphere that will do electricity damage and helps your crit shit with status. Cathode Grace, this is what gives you insane crit damage and crit chance and energy regen. So and you do not want this ability to run out. Like you can, I think, is it an augment where you get her Cathode Grace to go up in duration, or is that just innate? I can't remember, but actually no, it goes up in duration for each kill. So yeah, you do not want this ability to run out. This is her. This is what makes her a crit monster. And then Rotor Swell, it basically any enemy you hit that's inside her Rotor Swell will get struck by lightning and do even more crit damage. So this Warframe is easily one of the best damage dealing Warframes in the game. A tier.
I'd say B tier, but she's good. I don't know if she's necessarily A tier, but I do enjoy using her. I won't say I don't, but she's somewhere in between A and B depending on who you ask.
Um, this man, I know he's gotten better over the years, but I still see him as an Eidolon man.
And he's not even good for that either. I know
Overshield, oh
damn
my
well.
god, his passive is so bad. Condemn. Uh, Honestly, I'm not too well versed on Hero's kit. I've only used him as an Eidolon frame. So cast a wave of energy that changes them where they stand. Each enemy. This is not a great ability. Penance. This is a meh ability. Thurible, also very meh. Covenant just grants you invulnerability. This is what he's good for in Eidolons, and honestly, you can just rolling guard through an energy spike instead. So Harrow, honestly, D tier Warframe.
I mean, it'd be C tier for me because the thing is, when you play him in actual missions, he's really counterproductive because he does give some good benefits to his team, but to keep his abilities running, and even for that, he doesn't. I wouldn't even say he needs that much energy to keep him super efficient. He needs to be getting all the kills. And his playstyle and his ability set doesn't really
For a
go with getting
team
a lot of
focused
kills.
Warframe, he does best when he's on his own.
Yeah, and even then, I just would rather play other frames from solo. I'm gonna say C tier because he has his upsides. He's not even terrible in Eidolon hunts, but I mean, these days I'd rather run 4 volts and have a arrow saying that you can either just use nullify and switch into your operator, no, rolling guard it. So I'm gonna say C tier. It's not terrible, but
Yeah, C tier is. I mean, if no one has rolling guard, I guess this Hero's your man. So yeah, he's still good in some content. So C tier, yeah. Mama Hildren, please subsume her.
you
Uh, she's a long shield gate, but their catalyzing shields exists. Um, Balefire, why the hell would you use this? It's
if your
terrible.
shield gate's getting broken with Hildren, you got a different issue.
Yeah, Pillage, this is why you should subsume her. It does.
Mm-hmm.
This is an insane ability on literally every Warframe besides Hildren. Haven, this can nuke and Hydron, but that's pretty much all it does. Age of Storm, for the love of God, do not use this ability unless you're fucking doing Orphix
It's like a
Venom.
worse version of like in regular missions, it's worse than the first ability because you got to fly around in it. There's a bunch of weird stuff.
And when you deactivate the ability, you are stuck in an animation that does not grant you iframes. You will die after deactivating this ability.
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna say D tier.
Yeah, D tier Warframe, subsume her, don't do anything else with her.
Yeah, she is useful if you subsume her though, and I guess if you really want to, you can do high DPS with one. So she at least can kind of do something. She's not the worst frame in the game, but I just do not want to use her. And then one toxin proc from a level 30 infested enemy, you're dead. So
Yep, D tier
if there's
Warframe.
protection with that too, I'd say it'd be a lot better. But
Wait, probably DE's best case of making a terrible Warframe very good. Um, this man has insane corrosive damage now, whereas he used to be very, very, very useless. But his passive got reworked for enemies, so enemies damaged are more vulnerable to corrosive status, while initial status reducing armor by 50%. So he's yet another armor strip Warframe.
one of the more efficient ones because you can just pick out your group and then you can deal a ton of damage. Not like you got to look at the enemy. You can kind of just throw the abilities down and they do all sorts of corrosive damage, which is insane against your Grenadier, which will probably be the faction you're fighting against the most.
Tempest Barrage. I would argue that this ability was probably useless before. I haven't used Hydroid since he was reworked, but this seems insane now.
I'll say everything basically deals corrosive damage.
Yeah,
He's
his
he can
entire
proc
kit
almost as much
deals.
as Saren now. So
Yeah,
imagine a Saren that isn't as overpowered, but can deal more corrosive procs and can deal a lot of stacks of corrosive to
Tidal
tons of
Surge.
enemies.
This ability, you have to aim with it, but it still does corrosive damage. So good, I guess. Plunder. You plunder armor from nearby enemies. This is a new ability, I think. I haven't, like as I said, I haven't played Hydroid since he was reworked, so I'm pretty sure this ability is different.
He's good now. I don't really know the full extent, but I've definitely seen what it can
Yeah,
do. So
steal
I'm gonna
armor from
say
enemies and increase corrosive damage on your abilities and weapons. So very good ability already. Enemies affected by corrosive status offer a greater increase. Yep, this is a very good ability. This is probably what makes him so good. And then Tentacle Swarm. I don't know how I feel about this one.
I mean it's still okay for getting loot, but
Yeah, you use the hentai tentacles to get you loot. That's pretty much it. This is
the
the
only
ability
thing
you don't
is if you're
use.
trying to like hit enemies, they kind of flail around a lot. So I won't take him to Hydron, and I'm saying please don't take him to Hydron, but I don't know. I think if you use his kit right, he's one of those frames where if you use him right, he's an A tier. If you don't use him right, he's not good. I mean, if you actually have a good build going for him with the amount of upside he has, he's an A tier frame.
A tier. Dear God, Anaros.
Enter the F tier.
Yep.
Please never play pubs if you're gonna run an Aros. If
Do
I
not say
see
this man is a tank. He is not.
he's useless. If I see you playing an Aros and it's a mission I'll have to stand on for a while, I will leave.
You
I will
are.
not play with an
If
Anaros.
you
You're
play
useless. You
Inaros,
provide
you are
nothing
a
to the
bad
team.
Warframe player.
Yeah, like actually watch a video from any Warframe YouTuber, find any builds on any frame, learn how to mod a melee, and Inaros is useless. F tier. He doesn't do anything for his team. His abilities are all useless. I don't care what buff he got. He's still useless. I will leave if you're on my squad using an Anaros. I do not want to play with you if you're running this
Passive.
frame.
This is Sebagoth's passive, but extremely bad. You target a small little beam onto an enemy that will take forever to kill a level 15 enemy to revive yourself. This is a useless passive. Desiccation does nothing. You fucking cover your enemies in sand. Sandstorm. You spin around in circles. Does nothing. Scarab Shell. Nothing. You get armor, and armor isn't the most viable thing for late game content. And since you
Also,
have
you drain all your health, and then once you're at low health with a minimal armor increase, you just get one shot by whatever
yeah,
enemy has a shotgun in
and
it. So
considering once you get to higher level content, since Anaros has no shield, you are vulnerable to anything coming at you, and you are likely going to get one shot by an enemy that can just deal Anaros' entire health bar worth of damage, because that's how damage scaling works. And then Scarab Swarm, you give them. Okay, I don't. Is this blowjob ability not here?
I don't know. The frame sucks. F tier.
I don't know. He
Please get
used
this
it.
frame out of here.
Yeah. F tier Warframe. This is a terrible Warframe. Don't fucking
This
use
frame
him.
pisses me
Ever.
off. Just F tier. Just
The
get this.
existence of this thing, it makes me want to vomit.
I have
Done.
no
F
more to
tier.
say about this frame. Just get rid of it.
Uh, um. Honestly, she is. I don't know how to feel about Avara. Her passive. This is literally just enemy radar. Um, Quiver. Uh, you use this basically for getting a like putting up fucking zip lines to be on, and that's pretty much it.
She does a few different things with it. She just get to shoot some different types of arrows out. I think the one that makes you invisible is good, but
Yeah, and then Navigator. Uh, you assume control of a projectile.
that's
This is
there's
not
a few situations it's useful in, but it's again not exactly optimal.
like if you're using a Kuva Brahma, then sure, but if you're
The
using a
plague, what is it, the Carpath or whatever, that you can use that with the that one augment, but other than that, it's
then Prowl, don't use this ability. This is very bad stealth ability. This
well, it's
is
good. It lasts a while and you can melee with it. It goes off energy, but it's slow. You gotta realize that.
yeah. If you don't want to be moving at a snail's pace, just use Ash. And then Artemis Bow. This is an
It's
okay,
it's alright. It's outdated, but
outdated exalted weapon. It's okay, but
Even felt like it was outdated right as she came out. If that says something.
all right.
I'll
I'd
give her a
argue.
B tier because she has some useful. She can do some useful stuff, and there's some things you can do with her that you can make the game easier. But I would say, unless you're intending to use her for a specific thing, she's not useful. So she has to go in B tier. But she is really useful for the few things she does right.